Good morning. What is great, good, and real? And welcome to day 11 of the Do You Rules live stream as we march towards 1,000 hours of self improvement. And it's Saturday. And on Saturday, of course, we separate the men from the boys. And we're an all inclusive channel. So, really, what that means is wherever you're at in your life, Saturday is certainly a day to put in the work that most people won't. And again, this is not an indictment, not here to chastise, not here to tell you what you should or shouldn't do. But if you're on 1,000 hour journey, and again, pick your number, any number, maybe you're on 100 hours. The weekends, if you're a standard 9 to 5 scripted human like myself, the weekends are paramount for taking full advantage of crushing all your goals and doing your thing to get towards wherever you are in your self-evolution journey. Let's check on some things because we got to have some things in place before we proceed or move forward with our proceedings. Chapstick, medicated today, different. It hits, tingles and all that other good stuff. And I'll share with why I have that one. Bottle of water, back to our standard sort of bottle of water versus those really big bottles of water. I forget what type of water I've been drinking these past few days, but hydration is important. What time is it? It's 4:20 a.m. I tell you what, as I look at this, when Apple introduced these wallpapers, I used to, like every parent, maybe not like every parent, but I used to have my children there. I took it off because sometimes people look at your phone and they get nosy. And I don't want nobody seeing my beautiful babies. I don't know why. It's not like they're not walking in the universe and being seen. But this hit me different. These pictures of the earth. I have the earth. I've done the moon and other planets. But I guess because in my journey through spirituality and things of that nature, seeing this imagery on my phone it hits me different. It hits me different. Speaking of which, I will put my phone to charge now out of habit, although it's at 100%. I said it before, the idea of my phone not being at 100% makes me anxious. So here we are. It's Saturday. It's early. Let me make sure I am streaming. Part of the nervous ticks as I settle in. So if you've been with me so far, you know that 11 days in, I've gone about 2 or 3 days, at least 2 days, where I forgot to turn the mic on. That's just the process of improving on yourself to get a rhythm, a pattern, and a habit. A habit, patterns and habits are important. I believe in the self-improvement journey. If you don't have specific patterns and habits, you're likely set up to fail because then what are you improving on? Because if you don't have patterns and habits, then you don't have a repeatable process. If you don't have a repeatable process, then it's likely you're not driving towards an outcome. And if you're not driving towards an outcome, then you're not improving. And we're talking about self-improvement. And in the same way, I know we're looking to be rock stars, but as we reflect on this Saturday, this wonderful, wonderful Saturday, another great day to be alive, because we already know you're not going to run outside or open your door or pick up the phone and you're going to hit the lotto, whether it's for money or the body or the dream or the business, because it doesn't happen that fast, then as part of our reflection, take solace in all the wins and that I can remember to turn on my mic, bring my water, and get my chapstick is a big thing. I improved. It's one less thing I stress about when I click record. And so, in addition to that, the rhythm and pattern of being here, click and record 11 days straight, that's a win. It doesn't have to be executed to perfection per se. I think, again, process and habits and patterns, you perfect them. We talked yesterday about becoming more efficient. The more you repeat something continually in the direction of positive growth, the more you'll start to see some growth. That's a good thing. That's where you want to be. And of course, I forgot exactly where I was going, but that's okay. We're gonna reflect today and see where we're at. I might also get into a story on what self improvement means to me, but I do want to sort of touch on as we reflect. I don't know that I think for me, I can endure another second, minute, or hour of walking a path and a journey towards a specific outcome and goal, which really drives one towards an obsessive state. And being in an obsessive state might sound cool, and I think it is cool, and I think that's where you should be as far as if you want something, obsess about it because that's your soul. That's your soul asking for its release. It's asking for freedom, and it's asking to be gratified in that way. And you should overindulge in anything you want to do in your soul. But in that way, that level of obsessiveness, it can be, it can feel like somewhat of a burden. It can feel like, a really heavy weight because, not every day is the greatest day. But in this pace and in this focusedness of obsessiveness, the reflection period is important because it's almost as if it's a constant reminder of why. So there's a book by Simon Sinek, right? I want to pull up. I keep talking about this man's quotes and I keep forgetting to pull them up. But Simon Sinek talks about the power of why. And I believe if we don't understand our why, then we won't keep going. And the why starts with us, I believe, and then you have to expound on that and expand on that because doing it just for you, I believe we'll find out very quickly we're not as selfish as we think. It's just that we want to selfishly feel great about who we are. And then once we feel selfishly great about who we are, that's when we start to give ourselves away to the world because we start to feel more confident in who we are. And when we're more confident in who we are, then we're more secure, which means we're less insecure. We're more confident, which means we're less. I always get confused. What is the opposite of confidence? Unconfident. We're stronger, which means we're less weak. And I talk regularly about the polarities of life. The more you drive yourself towards the polarity around love, self-love, and self-appreciation, then the more you drift away from the insecurities of life. Not to say they don't exist, but it is to say if I'm constantly walking my path and I'm constantly reminding myself of why, and I'm constantly reshifting and refocusing and recentering around what my absolute drive and dedication towards my obsessive desire to satisfy my soul and the love I have in my life through the power that God gave me because I am in the image of Creator. Then when I walk in that way, then the pain and the suffering and the struggling I go through, which is mainly in my thoughts and in my mind, because I create that for myself, right? Or we create that for ourselves. I can endure that because in the effort to become self-improved, I begin to rationalize those things because I begin to experience those emotions a lot more vividly than I would have otherwise. And ultimately, when we practice self-improvement and we talk about the journey and overcoming, when you practice sitting through all that comes through what comes with this journey, then it's natural to build confidence, right? And before I get into that, do I want to get into that quote right now? I'm gonna get into it momentarily. What I would like to do is this, since we're reflecting. All right, I know this looks funky right now. As of now, I notice. Eventually, I'll show you an app that can, excuse me, that can quantify and qualify this. Maybe this is my insecurity about. Yeah, right. Nobody believes you because we all need to be convinced these days. And that's again, I hate this. I hate to say we all, but I try to follow what society is doing, and I get that we want to. If I'm out here saying I'm putting in 1,000 hours, how do I quantify and qualify it? I have this spreadsheet here, which I keep talking about. I have an app that tracks at least these qualities, these these areas. I'm struggling for words in some ways this morning. Bear with me. So I have an app that tracks that tracks my mindfulness, which would be prayer and meditation, my strength my strength training, my running, and I don't think what is yesterday. I didn't lift yesterday. And my running and my high intensity. And for the last, I think, 3 years, I've been at about 600 hours here. One of the reasons I created a spreadsheet is because I put a lot of hours into content creation and reading. Reading and knowledge and research are the same thing. So knowledge and research, if I read a book or the books I'm reading, I try to read every day. Although you see here, I had a couple of 0 days, which fine, we're reflecting. I haven't had a full rest day or full day off. This is a full 0 day. I do this. This is where I don't do any of these at all. And that happens maybe twice a year, if that. But I want to quantify this. Part of being able to feel good about the self improvement journey is you got to track, right? And we're so data driven these days, and influenced to be data driven. You want to quantify and qualify. So the last 7 days, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I put in another about 100 and it looks like 190 minutes. If I can see the sum down here, I'm averaging 27 minutes a day on my prayer and meditation. I put in another. I will lift today, 300 minutes, which is 5 hours of lifting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm using today. Oh, fine. Today is fine because I'm gonna do some work today. I will run today, 155. So I'm pushing almost 3 hours. High intensity. I You want to get in, you want to run and do a high intensity on the same day. I don't recommend it at my age. That kills the body. It's tough. Content creation, a whole lot of time, over 1,100 minutes, right? I average over 3 hours of content creation a day. And this is one of the things I wanted to track. I don't have an app for it, but you can see by my posts. Like I've been here already for 15 minutes. I'll probably be here another 30 minutes talking my head off. The books I read, I can share with you. But again, another 270 minutes of knowledge and research. And I have targets. I have goals. So far, if we're talking about the journey towards 1,000 hours, I have 61 hours completed so far of self-improvement. And a lot of, some people will tell you spend 18 minutes a day, you become in the top 5% in any one category. Like if you play the piano, apparently, I'm just telling you what I've read. I don't know that it's true. I've never tried it, at least explicitly. You play the piano for 18 minutes a day, by the end of the year, apparently you're in the top 5%. Do I believe it? I don't know, man. Playing the piano to me is quite an intricate process. I also don't know how to play it, so that's why I might feel that intricate. But I doubt that you'll be in the top 5%. That either implies to me it's easier than what it looks like, or there aren't that many people playing the piano, right? Oh, you're in the top 5%. Yeah, because the other 95% don't play the piano. There's that. I don't know that anybody would necessarily tell it to you that way. I've never heard it that way. But that's a lot of the way I think sometimes. It's interesting. I talk about being optimistic, but I certainly can have a pessimistic view or an alternate view on what are you really saying here? Because a lot of times, I was watching something yesterday that I think was profound as we reflect. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people around the world, my Y.O.U rulers, I'm 61 hours in. I got a long way to go. I got 1,189 hours, as I've said before. This orange will fill up when I make progress, and I want this bar to go till it's no longer there. All right. I was watching something yesterday where someone says, if I gave you $1,000,000, would you take it? And the person naturally says yes. If I gave you $10,000,000, would you take it? And the person naturally, if you were going to take the million, you would take the 10 million. And then the person says, great, I'll let you choose whether it's the 1 million or the 10 million. However, I'll give you this money, and I think I'm making it a little more intriguing than it was, because I think it's cool to do that sometimes, right? I'll give you the million or the 10 million to start your day. So you wake up and you start with $10 million. Excuse me. But you will not wake up the next day. So here's $10 million. but you basically got a day to spend it because tomorrow you won't wake up. And everyone he's asking this to is like, no way, no way, no way, no way. He says, quite passionately and succinctly, well then, clearly your life is worth more than that money I can give you. So why aren't you waking up every day with that energy, with that passion, and with that drive? Your life is super valuable. You can't just be giving it away. And I think that's dope. That certainly resonated with me. I don't want to say that I thought it was a little bit cheesy. I don't want to be critical in that way. I've gotten to a point in my life where things like that don't necessarily resonate with me to inspire and motivate me. Maybe it's because I already believe I know what my worth and my value is. But also in the same way, like context is everything. And of course, none of us would give our life for $10 million. And of course, we think we all want the $10 million. But no, not everybody really wants the $10 million. You know how I know that? Because the people have proven that you can get that money. People have opened up the path for to reveal everything. Like pick a space, any space. You say, I want to be worth $10 million. All right, cool. The universe says this is what you got to do to get the $10 million. If you want to be an entrepreneur and a business owner, it there's no hidden knowledge. I mean, I think that it's not to say that there's not innovation. It's not to say that there aren't new ways to do things. But generally speaking, what is it you need to know? What is the information you need to execute on the tasks required to continue? We talk about obsessiveness, right? Even in the content creation space, there's people making very good livings off of reposting other content. You see what I'm saying? And there's not, there's no secret. I think there's a book, The Secret to, is it The Secret to Success? Is a book? I know there's a book, The Secret, or I think there's a podcast, The Secret to Success. In any event, especially in these days, there are no secrets. And the reality to people who achieve a certain level of richness in that way, that 10 million, 100 million, whatever it is they ultimately, and there's varying degrees naturally, they provide a service. You really want to be impactful to the world, the greater the impact you want to have, the greater the service you got to provide back to the world. You haven't seen that that's how it works. There's nobody who is by themselves, doing something just for themselves, doing it alone to themselves, and achieving that level of success that you see. They're providing a service. And the greater the service you provide to people and the world and the universe, the greater the return the universe, the world, and the people provides you. And so in that way, you don't really want the $10 million. Because if you did, and if think about it. Yes, I do, Jeff. No, you don't. Because if you did, you'd be doing what you had to do to make it work. And the reality to why we may not do it is there's no guarantee you're going to get the 10 million. So even though you see the path and you know the path and you just got to walk the path, there's still no guarantee that when you reach the end of that path, because you will reach the end in some way, whether it's an unfortunate and an unexpected way, like you get on a plane tomorrow and it crashes, sucks, but it happens, right? Or some God forbid scenario that could happen and derail everything. You're gone. Yeah, that's what it is. Or maybe you weren't good enough in that way. Or maybe that's really not what you wanted to begin with. I think that's a lot of the reason we get derailed. Because if you knew your why and you were obsessive and you put in the work, I said this the other day on one of my reels, the secret that everyone gives away who's attained the level of success you're looking for, or whatever space it is you're looking for it, pick a space, any space, is that they just didn't stop. They just didn't stop. Is it that literal? I think quite so, because if you're on a journey and on a path, think about that you might be 11 days into the new year and already quit everything you said you were going to do when you started the new year. Like 11 days in and you stopped already. 11 days in and you found all the reasons why you shouldn't. You knew all the reasons why you should. You knew all the things you need to do to make it happen. You bought all the equipment. You posted all the content. You subscribed to all the things. And then what? And then what? You didn't put in the work and the effort. And so in that way, that's how a lot of things break down and we fail. I talked about it recently too. Failure has this finite sort of losing, failing. When we speak in that tense as if it's already over, you close the loop, and then how do you reopen it? You're just repeating that state of failing and losing and being in a situation where you can't prosper. Think about the logic, right? Think about the logic. Tangential, I know. If you've been with me for 11 days, then you know I can kind of sort of just kind of go off in a direction, and that's what happens on the Do You Rules live stream. We're reflecting, and then we're going to talk about why we might, what self-improvement might mean. Before I talk about what it might mean, part of reflecting why I went through, I almost forgot, why I went through the amount of hours I've put in a specific space. It's great to see the data and to measure, but also while you're reflecting, there's a reality to asking yourself, being honest with yourself, and being able to answer the question of, is what I'm doing working for me? And hear the question, right? Is what I'm doing working for me? I know you've watched all the gurus. I know you've ingested all the content. I know you've read all the material. But as I always say, like with anything, wisdom essentially comes down to applied knowledge. If you're not applying the knowledge, then you don't really have the knowledge. I talked about that syllism, that beautiful, beautiful word, which essentially means someone who pretends to be an expert or knowledgeable in a space. And it's not that I'm not suggesting you're pretending, but in this way, if you have all the information and you're still trying to gather more information and you're not putting the information you have to use, if you're not trying it, if you haven't started, if you're not making effort to put in the work, then you don't really know. You know, you have an idea, you have an understanding, but you won't know until it hits you. And the reason why that's significant, I believe, in our journeys and in our path towards 1,000 hours, you got to know what you're doing. And the significance around the data and the information that's provided in the space, because it is all these, this life is this paradox. The information's there, the path is there, someone's already done it, but that person is not you. And that's significant because what they did to get there, you shouldn't walk, you're not putting your feet in their shoes. You can use the emotion, you can use the overarching premise and the high gloss, high level words of what is your why and what keeps you inspired, and you got to grit and you got to grind and you got to put forth the effort, and it doesn't matter how you feel, and you got to have willpower and determination and discipline. What does all that mean to you? How do you actually acquire that? How do you become consistent? And the reality is, the reflection is important because, we have to understand what is the impact this is having on me. Some of the results you're going to see, you can't put on paper. You could journal it. You could open up a spreadsheet. You can subscribe to an app, and it's still not going to really. I put in 150 hours. Even when you lose 10 pounds, even when you gain 10 pounds, even when you earn new subscribers and followers, and the business goes from making $1 to making $10, whatever it is what the impact of what's occurring. We have to be able to reflect and understand, what is this doing to me? What kind of, like, if I'm trying to, if I can say the bar is all the way up here, sure, but you're not going to shoot up there. So you have little incremental bars. I want to take 10 steps. I take those 10 steps. I want to take 10 more. I take those 10 more. And every time I do that, what is the impact? Sometimes, you run the hill and you think you're going to now go downhill and there's another hill. Sometimes you stop in the middle of the hill. Sometimes you need a breath and a rest. But the idea is, if you're putting in effort in the direction you're putting effort in to improve, I talked about repeatable process. You certainly want to tailor, tailor the experience to you. You want to customize the experience to you. Yes, you can pull information from other people, but you have to know how it applies to you. So take, for example, meditation. There's a lot of different ways you can meditate. And I think that we're evolving as a species and people to where we're more open to broadening the scope of how these things are applied. And interestingly enough, a lot of the information you might find, people are repeating from hundreds and thousands of years ago. They're a little more current in that we spit them out in our reality. And so because we've evolved some, we tweak a little bit differently. But a lot of the principles and the core values around self-improvement, they've been around for an eternity. But in that way, if you've adopted a meditation practice, have you figured out the meditation format that is good for you, that works for you? What are you looking for out of meditation? What are you trying to achieve? In what way are you trying to execute? What results are you actually trying to see? Are you just trying to stack time to say, I put in 100 hours of meditation and now I'm an expert at meditating? If 18 minutes a day makes you an expert at piano and I'm putting in 30 minutes a day at meditating, and I've been putting in at least 30 days of meditating, 30 minutes of meditating a day for at least the last 3-4 years. And I've said to you already on multiple instances and occurrences that at this point, I'm always in a meditative state because I'm so into consciousness. We'll get into why I think self-improvement is important. I think if I don't run out of time today, I'm definitely, I believe, going to go past 5. Let's set a timer for 5 a.m. Set a timer for 5 a.m. All right, we got at least 14 minutes and 27 seconds. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. I'll say this. Do I believe I'm an expert at meditating? I am for me. I know exactly how I need to meditate. I know exactly what I'm looking for meditation. And yes, I've practiced multiple different forms of meditation. And yes, in the same way, there are many I haven't practiced and there are many I don't want any part of. And I had to learn that for myself. There are rituals and practices that have strict disciplines about how you should sit, where you should sit, when you should do it. I ingested all that information. I read it. I processed it. I watched it. I do it the way that it benefits me. And that's significant because where are you in your meditation if you've chosen that practice? And substitute any other practice. Are you trying to visualize? And a lot of why I got into self-improvement, aside from my message that I received from God directly, is I certainly want to have a level of understanding, faith, and belief that comes with the spirituality, and meditation offers that. But in that way, my visualization techniques, how I practice it, may not be what you might hear or read about. This is the best way to go through your visualization techniques. I'm very explicit with how I visualize and very, I believe, unique and tailored to me. It's not that I should write a book about it and I become this expert. It's that I went through many iterations of visualization to understand how I like to visualize because I'm the one visualizing. And you could tell me to do this thing in this way. If it doesn't work for me, essentially it's going to break. And if it breaks, that's what's going to make me stop. And that's a lot of what I want to message too around tailoring things to work for you. It's not to demean or dumb it down or make it easier, because I also want to make things as easy as possible. And I've learned this in business a lot. If you make the operation, because this is all an operational workflow, if you make in your structure and your superstructure, if you make your operational process and workflow too difficult to repeat, you won't repeat it. And if it's too difficult to reproduce, then you won't reproduce it and you won't get the outcomes you're looking for. And so part of the reflection is, if you're early in your journey, let's presume you're 11 days in, like me. This is 11 days into live streaming, 11 days into revealing my individual journey. I think I know why. I think I understand why I'm doing it. But certainly, I believe I've gotten. We were talking about 1% better yesterday. I'm better on day 11 than I was day one because it's more meaningful to me on day 11 than it was on day one. Because I'm a lot more clearer on day 11 than I was in day one. I made some adjustments between where I was at, between where I'm at now on day 11 and where I was on day one. And so you might believe, what's good? Red Rose is here. I can't lie. I looked down and was like, damn, Red Rose ain't on. I hope you're having a blessed day so far. All right, we're talking about reflection. We're talking about reflection. So on Saturdays, if you haven't, not that I expect you to go back in the streams, but moving forward, Saturday is reflection. It's a deep, there's introspection. I like to understand what I did throughout the course of the week, how I felt. Are there any adjustments I need to make? Were there things that worked really well and I want to repeat it? Were there things that didn't work so well, I want to delete it, right? And I believe in the self-evolution journey, the self-improvement journey. How do you get to 1,000 hours? You got to have a process. Not that you have to. I would strongly encourage you to work on what you believe is a process that's repeatable, a process that is it flows in a way that makes you feel good about flowing. And so in that way, I was discussing if you've taken on a meditation journey. All right. I thought, and I'll get into, and another thing we'll talk about is why I believe self-improvement is so important. I was blown away by the law of attraction when I first was exposed to the law of attraction. I was blown away like many people are. I think the book, The Secret, is a very easy read. That wasn't my first book. The first book I read that changed my mind about and changed my life was How to Think and Grow Rich. Yo, that was an experience. That was a really deep experience for me. It opened up and broadened my power of potentiality. So in any event, the universal laws, mirror principles, the law of attraction, duality. There's a lot. The laws of those really excite me because to me they're more logical than anything. And there's a holistic view, the way that I believe God and the Holy Trinity. It doesn't matter what Father, Son, Holy Spirit. That's traditional, but that completion of a process that is continuous is big to me. And so, if you've adopted meditation, does visualization techniques work for you? You know what I found when I first started to visualize? I could just be going crazy. I wrote this down, part of why I think self-improvement is important. Sometimes I think I'm so into my mind, I'm out of my mind, but I'd rather be out of my mind with what's in my mind that I put there than to be out of my mind with what's in my mind that somebody else dumped in there and I'm just repeating without realizing it. That was another realization of self-improvement that, man, I'm programmed. And if you know me enough and follow me enough to know my ego and a lot of who I am as far as the autonomy I seek, the freedom I seek, I don't like the idea of thinking that somebody programmed me. Makes me feel very uncomfortable. And even if it's like, yo, but it was your mother and your father and your grandfather, your brother, I'm an only child, but you get what I'm saying. They're supposed to be influential. Nah, I don't want that. I don't want you in my head. I want me in my head at all times. All right, cool. One of the things that was hard for me, I'm getting hundreds and I'm getting firecracker boom from Red Rose. One of the things that was hard for me in visualization. So imagine, right? You read a book, and this is why I was also saying, Red Rose, just because you have all the information, part of the reflection is how is the information that you're using? You have to, not that you have to, right? It's you don't really. It's not really applicable until it's applied knowledge. So just because you're reading it and you're writing it and you got a plan written out, you got to go do it. You got to go do it. And until you do it, you don't know how it's going to hit you. And so when I first learned how to meditate and I was going through visualization, the instruction is something along the lines of visualize seeing yourself where you want to see yourself. You know what was crazy? I couldn't visualize how I looked. Couldn't visualize myself. I was struggling seeing myself. I could see, I think, where I wanted to be. And maybe that's that. Yeah, Red Rose is saying yes. I don't know which part. I promise you there's a delay here, so I don't know which part she's saying yes to it. In any event, she's on, she's hyped, we're here. So I started to question, am I supposed to just visualize the scene? Like, Visualize yourself with $1 gazillion because that's the most, appealing thing for us. Fine. I'm in this pool of money. I'm floating in it. I'm swimming in it. I'm diving in it. I couldn't see myself doing it. I could kind of see the $1 gazillion and the paper floating everywhere and it flowing down, but I couldn't see myself. And I started to wonder, am I supposed to see myself? And so for a little while, I started to stare at myself in the mirror. I know that sounds crazy. I know it sounds a little bit, somebody got me uncomfortable the other day. Narcissistic. That word bothers me. I think that a lot of people today demean themselves and won't go outside and say, yo, I'm dope. I'm an amazing human. I feel great about myself because it's implied a level of vanity and narcissism. And so people are uncomfortable feeling great about themselves and kind of press themselves and suppress themselves. No. When I say I love myself, I'm dope, there ain't nobody like me, is because literally, why would you want to be like me? There's only one me, the way there's only one you. You could be a twin, but there's only one you. And you should feel great about yourself. Me being great, me saying I love me has nothing to do with you. It doesn't make me better, doesn't make you worse. Doesn't make you better, doesn't make me worse. I'm allowed to feel like I love myself. You should go feel like you love yourself. That's why we're going to talk about why self-improvement is important. I'll get into that later, but I digress. And so I started to have to look at myself in the mirror because one of the things they tell you too is visualize in great detail. Like if you see yourself in a car, visualize you getting into, like, what does the leather feel like? What color is the leather? Is it leather? What color is the car? What color is the rims? Visualize the engine. Now, one of those things was, I get a little lazy. I mean, that's a lot of detail. Do I want to, and I talked about the path is there. Do you want to walk it? Do I want to visualize that deeply? If it's beneficial, I do. But I started to question, what do I want to visualize? Maybe I don't want to visualize myself in a specific house with specific money and having a specific car. Maybe I just want to visualize myself in a bubble of light. And you're like, why would I do that? Light is great to me. Light is great to me. At some point, I read that once you start to realize what God and universe and consciousness is like, you don't really have to ask. Think about that. What does that mean to you? Am I being lazy with my visualization? Possibly. Or have I realized and actualized that if I already am, the isness of life will return to me? So I walk out already like, yo, I'm cloaked in everything. I'm cloaked in that house. I'm cloaked in that car. I'm cloaked in that money because I'm cloaked in that light. And nothing can stop me. You can't dim it. You don't like it? Cool. I do. Makes me feel good about life is why I'm on my self-improvement journey. And so meditation for me also, do you want to visualize? Do you want to go through guided meditations? I've been through some, so what I like to do is in the morning is just me. But I do realize I've learned to like to listen to a sound. I play a sound. I have just two sounds. There's one sound that is a frequency and a vibe for manifesting your greatness. I like the way it makes me feel. There's one sound and one vibe that is a spiritual reset. The one that I do more constantly, I say 6 out of 7 days, is the spiritual reset. Usually one day a week, I like to have the frequency for manifesting your greatness. Why? Because that's how it works for me. I learned that. Are there a gazillion other tracks that I could play? Yep. Should I do more research to learn other tracks? Possibly. The pineal gland, right? The third eye. Is that important? Possibly. In my journey right now, it's not that I don't believe in it and the chakras and how to center yourself. That's not a priority for me in the way that I'm super focused on activating my pineal gland. Have I tried some of those techniques? Yep. Did it work for me? Not really. Will I use it in the future? Possibly. Point is, I visualize how I want to visualize. I technique how I technique. They're my techniques that I learned that work for me. And now when applied, I know it works because I feel better about my life. And ultimately, what I've learned about my meditation journey is this. I see it as a connection to God. I often go through a prayer. And if you want to talk about, people say you got to affirm yourself. I tried affirmations. I'm going to get into the guided meditation in a moment here. I tried affirmations. I get cautious and conscious of affirmations because I feel like you can't just speak yourself into the greatness. You got to execute on the greatness. Red Rose is agreeing. Oh yes, you can't just speak yourself into greatness. But I do believe in words and the positivity of words. One of the ways I affirm myself is I'll go through the alphabet, and I've learned this just one day. This is what I do on meditation. I think it was Alan Watts who said it. I'm big on Alan Watts if you haven't realized that by now. Try not thinking. Go meditate and try not to think. That is the greatest gift I could offer you. And in my trying not to think, one day I felt this massive rush of like, oh, I feel mad love in my chest. I feel mad love in the center of my body and everything. And at that time also, I just felt connected to God. And so in that way, once I had that moment, I can always recapture that moment. It's not to say that sometimes I'm not frustrated. So it's not like instant, but I can sit down and say, okay, I'm a little frustrated. I'm not really feeling it. It's Saturday. I'm tired. But I remember if I sit here long enough, at some point I can feel love, even if it's brief, even if it's brief. And so in that way, one day I was kind of sitting there and it was kind of like amazing, beautiful, confident, determined, evolved, ferocious, God. I just started going through the alphabet of words that made me feel great, right? Harmonious, instinctive, joyous, karmic, luminous, monstrous. My timer just went off. Noble, optimistic, powerful, quiet, resilient, strong, unique, vivacious, winning, yearning, zenial, zealous. I think I just went through the whole alphabet, right? Red Rose is agreeing with her meditation practice. She has certain ways of practicing and she found ways that work for her. That is the whole thing about reflection. That's how I went on this long-winded diatribe. Where are you in one of your self-improvement practices? You're not going to get to 1,000 hours. You're not going to get to 100 hours if it doesn't work for you. It's not to say that you shouldn't be inspired by people or like, look, listen, if somebody wrote a book, there's a book I'm going to go through by this Leo Tolstoy guy. I'm going to read one of his quotes before I get into why I think self-improvement is important. He has a 1,400-page book titled War and Peace. The Bible, right? The most sold book in history, billions and billions of copies, is well over 1,000 pages. Imagine knowing that there's a human out there who has achieved this level of whatever you want to call that. To me, is greatness. When you are able to love yourself enough to realize all that comes with loving yourself, and you put out a 1,400-page book, I want to read that. I want to read that. I don't care if it takes me a year. I'm going to read that. And so in that way, it would be ignorant and naive of us. The 11. I will watch yeah, all good, all good. Yes, you're welcome. Red Rose is thanking me for day 11 of the self-improvement journey. Yes. So, okay. And if you're hopping off, have a blessed rest of your day. There's people who have put in a lot of work. It will be naive of us to not leverage it because it will teach you some things that you might overlook otherwise. And certainly if somebody is like, yo, don't do this, and they can quantify and qualify why you shouldn't do it, and you can skip that part, skip that part. There's no reason to fall on your face unnecessarily. That's the beauty of the wisdom of life. What are you giving away? I learned these things. Don't repeat these mistakes, right? Pretty straightforward. But now you take that information, you certainly apply it, you certainly think about it. But you also got to be able to compartmentalize and realize, okay, if I just read this 1,400-page book, it's going to have an influence. I got to be careful how much I'm letting it influence me. Yes, I understand it. Yes, I read it. Yes, I apply it from the perspective of, all right, I know the information. Now, what does it mean for me? So you make your adjustments. You understand, how does meditation work for me? If you're working out, what is and that's a lot of the things too. What is your priority? What is your priority for improvement? If we have to have a plan, if we're marching towards goals and we're making decisions, You have to have you. That's the thing about the do you rules. I have this concept I'm fleshing out. It's called opt in, OPT, one priority at a time. You can only prioritize one thing at a time. That's why I talked about my roles and responsibilities. It's not to say that I'm not different people anymore. I've learned to not be a different person. I take the same morals, values, concepts, principles, and functionalities, my same processes. I take them and I apply them to the role I'm playing. Right? If I'm husband, I apply all these processes and I be husband. If I'm father, if I'm professional, friend, I'm gonna say this until I'm blue in the face because I believe in it. The reason why that's significant is I don't have to think about who I need to be outside of what role am I playing. And if I'm playing that role, there's no confusion. I'm going out to play that role. Boom, I execute. And so that actually becomes a less stressful life because there's no confusion. I don't have to, who do I need to? It's like a lie, right? You got to remember, what did I actually say? No. This is me. You take it, leave it. Boom, we move. Where was I going? Okay. So, all right, the prioritization, one priority at a time. I also have this, my wife and I use somewhat of an example. So yesterday, she's like, one priority at a time. This is what we're talking about real quick before we get back into what self-improvement means and how to make it for you. And I'm saying it out loud so I don't forget. I find that, right? If I say it out loud, a lot of times I don't forget. These are the quirks. These are the quirks of Cliche Chef. What works for you, do it. So my wife comes to me. I just started the Instacart. Can you fill the Instacart? So I'm like, all right, boom. I got you. I'm on it. I told her I'm on it. So I'm on the Instacart. I'm in Costco. I'm filling up I'm getting the croissants. I'm getting my energy drinks, my fruits, my grapes, my watermelon, my strawberries, my bananas. I'm filling the cart. It's like I'm shopping. I love that. I miss going to Costco, but Instacart is a blessing. It saves me an hour and a half of my time. It takes me 20 to 25 minutes to get to Costco, 20 to 25 minutes to come back. It takes me 30 minutes of shopping, assuming I'm not with my wife and my kids. I can go through Costco. I know where everything's at. I'm out in 30 minutes. The wife and the kids go, it gets a little slower. That's all. There's 4 of us instead of 1 of us. I can't be selfish. So as I'm filling the Instacart, my wife walks over to me. She's like, can you call this? Because now I talked about the flex card. So I invest money out of my paycheck into my health card so that if I needed a copay, God forbid, we got the flu, COVID, whatever, you go to an urgent care, you got God forbid, emergency room. Also, when I'm buying medications, I have this card, right? So boom. So as I'm filling the cart, she's like, can you call the cart? I'm like, wait. What? Hold on. I'm doing something right now. Yeah, but I need you. No. It doesn't matter what I'm saying this with all due respect. And I'm saying this, my wife and I are very open. We've been together 25 years. So I said, chill out. You're going to break my brain. I can't fill the Instacart and call this card at the same time. So which do you want me to do right now? If you want me to stop the Instacart and call the card, I'll do that. But I can't call the card and fill the Instacart and put the water in the fridge at the same time. And these seem like mundane and menial tasks, but the little things you do in life are like, I record for an hour. I want to make this my life. But what if I just recorded an hour every day for the rest of my life? I got 23 other hours of life. And guess what? The majority of time I spend are doing the little things with my wife and my children. So those things are big for me. I don't gloss over that. One priority at a time. And the reason why one priority at a time works is because in business, I have a team of people. I have to execute. I know what my goals and my priorities are. If I don't execute on my priorities, nothing gets done. You hear what I'm saying to you? If I don't execute on my priorities, nothing gets done. You start to peck a little bit here, a little bit there. You can't multitask. That is a myth. And my wife, women versus men, whatever. I'm telling you, I can't multitask. When I start doing different things, I look back, what did I get done? Nothing. A lot of nothing. I got 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there. And what's crazy is that if you just applied 15 focus minutes to this and 15 focus minutes to that, you would complete and close more tasks. So one priority at a time is like, if I'm praying and meditating, I don't think about nothing else but prayer and meditation. If I'm lifting, I do nothing but lift. I don't want nobody bothering me. I don't want, that's why my phone is on Do Not Disturb. But my house is also on Do Not Disturb. But I'm also not selfish in that I don't work out at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. That's selfish. One of the reasons why I think Saturdays are important, my wife and I negotiated. You have till 9:30. So I got from 3:30 to 9:30 to do nothing but me. That's 6 hours. If she wakes up early, the kids wake up early, she's like, yo, I got you. I'll take everything that needs to be taken care of. And then after that, my rest of my day, my priority the rest of the day on the weekend is my house. Red Rose can't multitask at all. Don't do it. Multitask is gonna fuck you up, and all it's gonna do is cause you mass stress. Because when you think you're doing things and you go and you look back, this is reflection is important. What did I do? I did nothing except cause myself stress. So I had that, and my wife looked at me and she smiled. She's like, "Yo, I'll slap the shit out of you," but she meant that with love and respect, right? But also I work with her because I'm watching my wife. She's evolved and she got a lot of great promotions. She's doing a lot of great things. And so she's new into leadership. I've been in leadership for a long time. So once in a while, she'll ask me what I think very humbly. And a lot of times I'll focus on, yo, what's your priority? What's your team's priority? What is your priority? How are you managing up and managing down, right? As a parent, you manage up, you manage down, right? We manage up to the responsibility of the world and the universe of God and what God provides. We manage down to our children. We got to keep them straight, right? We manage up in our relationship to each other. Oh, no, I digress because I could do this shit for the next like fucking 36 hours. But I do want to get on to the rest of my day, and I want to close some of these points. Immediate self-reflection is 5:09. If you go back to like day 2 or day 3 of the stream, by 4:45, I was tired. I'm building stamina. I'm building stamina. I'm less tired. My voice is starting to hurt a little bit in the back, but it was the what I'm starting to feel in my voice back here as far as straining, I was feeling 30 minutes prior. You got to notice these little wins. You got to notice these little wins. And so now back to the prioritization and what it might mean for us and how we do things, right? So we're moving. We're making gains. We're getting better. Meditation. What's the practice that works for you? If you're working out, do you want to be like a bodybuilder? Do you want to go win a competition? Do you want to be a fitness influencer? If that is like no, then maybe you just need a workout routine that's 45 minutes. Maybe you need 20 minutes. I think a lot of times we get into this concept and idea that we got to be in the 1% of everything. When I lift weights, I got to be in the 1%. No, you don't. And you probably don't want to. And that's why a lot of the times we fail. You probably don't even want a six-pack. You think you want a six-pack until you start working on a six-pack. And not just working on the six-pack, you got to start eating like the person who wants the six-pack. You think you want like 6% body fat until you got to start living the life of 6% body fat. And here's the thing too. You can be very healthily successful with 15 to 20% body fat. You just can. You can feel so much better about your life if you went from being where I was at to just being in a healthy state to where you can lift your body weight, you can move your body around, and you could do some basic things. Like I'm on a path to when I'm 80, 85, 90, I could carry my own milk. I could open my own car. That's what I want. I think Joe Rogan was saying something like that at one time. I don't want to be 90. I don't want to be 60. Some of you are, God forbid, God bless you. I'm not judging. But you don't want to be 60, 65, having somebody wipe your ass. That is my worst fear, that I could be in my 60s. That's nothing. 70s, 80s, in this great, like we've evolved. Think about you talk about what is the word? Oh my God, the innovation of life. Our life expectancy is way broader than it used to be. And I watch some people at 80, 85 on the pull-up bar doing push-ups. I want to carry my own milk. I want to be able to take my own bath and get in my car on my own. And I don't want nobody. At 90, I'm trying to go to 120, by the way. I don't know that I'm going to get there, but that's my goal. But I want no help in my life. I don't want my kids to call me and be like, yo, Dad, no. I'm going to Costco, and maybe at that point, I don't use Instacart. Maybe because I have less to do. I want to be like, yo, bring the grandkids over. Bring the great-grandkids over. I'll bring them to the track. I'll bring them to the park. My grandfather right now is my inspiration. He's 88 years old. And he'll complain, oh, my legs hurt. But you know what he did? He went to go get lunch at the center. And he had to walk there. He had to walk to the center to get lunch. He goes to 2 centers. He brings my grandmother back food. He goes to the park. He doesn't run around the park, but he plays baseball. He has some kids where he's like, yo, here's a bat, here's a ball, here's a bag. I can help you get the ball. I can encourage you, motivate in the spot. That's how I want to live. That's how I'm trying to get. Anyway, you see, I get hyped. I get hyped at 5 something in the morning. I got all this energy. Prioritization. What's your priority for your body? You may not want to be in the 1%. What's your priority for your money? You may not want to make, I'm telling you right now, I hire people. You want to talk about the beauty of what I've been able to do in my profession? You don't know what it's like. I didn't know what it was like to hire somebody at a 6-figure salary and like, yo, you could offer me that kind of money. 6 figures is nice. And when I promoted people. I promoted people where I'm like, yo, I'm going to move you from this number to this number. And it's like, oh, God, you're going to give me like 20. You might not realize it right now, but add $20,000, $30,000 to your salary. It's not to say that you shouldn't get the million, but if you're not even at 6 figures, like get to 6 figures. See what that life is like. You might just decide, ooh, this is nice. This is dope. I feel good. I can now move to the, we're going to talk about that another day. I think the environment's important. And in an environment, changing your environment could be everything about self-improving. But to change your life in that way, the way you can't multitask is the way you're not going to be in the 1% for everything. And that's okay. You can have a very healthy body, a very healthy mind, a very healthy spirit, a very healthy practice, whether you're meditating, reading, writing, journaling, like Red Rose said, dancing. Pick something and do it. And then tailor it to how it makes sense for you. How do I need to lift the weights? What exactly is my focus and my priority? Maybe I want some stamina, some good cardio, some heart health. Maybe I want to be able to just do some pull-ups and some push-ups and some crunches and some dips. Maybe I want to be able to do body weight squats. Maybe I want to crawl around the floor like a fucking animal. Maybe I want to bench press 1,000 pounds. But at least know what you want to do for you. Do it for you, and then figure out, all right, how do you get there? How do I need to get there? What's going to work for me? Reflection, self-reflection, and being able to assess and analyze the type of hours you're putting in, the type of energy you're putting in, what's the return on investment, whether you adjust, like I said, with the visualization technique. I forgot what I look like. I got to stare at myself. So I can put the image in my head. So when I'm visualizing, I can see myself the way I want to see myself. Otherwise, I can't see myself. It sounds crazy, right? A lot of times, it's funny. I get so lost in watching my videos that I'm trying to critique myself. Again, I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to get better. Sometimes the way consciousness works, you just drift. You just drift. So you want to practice recentering. You got to practice focus, believe it or not. I've learned intentionality around focused. How focused do you think you are in your self-improvement journey? You might think you're focusing the way you think you're multitasking, but then I'll tell you this before I get into why I think self-improvement is important. And I almost feel like sometimes, maybe I should say it for another day, but you think you want to sit down and attract $1 million. And you think you want to go to the visualization practice of manifestation and the law of attraction. And I don't think that any of that is unreal. I actually, to the contrary, I think it's very real. I think it's very real. I talked about my obsessiveness at some point. Ultimately, what I'm learning with manifestation and knowing what my priority is, I also want to say this about priority. If you're like me and maybe content creation is your priority and you want to be in the 1%, you already know, don't give up, because we talked about not giving up. But also you can do it. It just takes an exhaustive amount of effort, right? You're gonna be tired, whatever. Do what you got to do in that space, and do it to the maximum ability that God allows you to do it. If you haven't sat with yourself to try to visualize, or you haven't sat with yourself to see, like they call it monkey brain, I think it is, just sit and think about right now, I'm rich, I got $1 million. And then just only in your mind, think about being rich and having $100 million, $200 million, being the richest man or woman or person in the world. And I bet you that we can agree that thinking in this way is dope. To have this thought in your mind is why wouldn't you want to sit and think about man money? But watch how quick you're like, I'm gonna be a millionaire. I'm gonna be a millionaire. In your mind, not out loud, in your mind. Watch you doing that, and then watch within like 25, 30 seconds, not 25, 30 minutes. Watch in a matter of seconds, you're like, did I do the laundry? Did I do the dishes? Did I take out the garbage? Am I supposed to be at work today? Watch how your mind jumps. Watch how your mind jumps. And in that way, realize and understand that practicing focus is important. That's why I believe also in meditation and prayer, right? Recentering yourself. You're like, wait, I didn't tell you to go. Like, this is your mind. This is going to go into why I think self-improvement is important. Consciousness. You're going to drift off anyway. 95% of how we move is in a subconscious state. Your subconscious is fed by your conscious. Your what you do when you're unaware of what you're doing is fed by what you're aware of when you're doing it. So awareness is consciousness, and what you tell yourself when you're aware is repeated over and over and over and over and over in your subconscious mind. And so in that way, when you try to attract some things and you're like, why do I keep attracting this life I don't really want? This is not what you start complaining and ruminating. Well, guess what? When you're conscious, you're complaining, you're ruminating, you keep talking about the life you don't want. And in the way you talk about the life you don't want when you're conscious, when you're subconscious and you're unconscious, your mind is thinking about the life you don't want, and it's thinking you want that life. You know why it's thinking you want that life? Because when you come to consciousness, you keep talking about the life you don't want. I'm just saying, look around. If you don't have the life you want and you feel like you've been stuck in that life for what feels like forever, why is that? Could it be because you're always talking about that life? And so subconsciously, your mind, your subconscious, it lacks prejudice. You can't say, all right, law of attraction manifested. When you say, I'm not good enough, I can't, I won't, I'm going to fail, it's hard, it'll never happen for me. And then you try, no. You convince yourself, your subconscious can't be manipulated in that way. It can be manipulated in that you can reprogram it to think something different. It takes massive time, energy, and effort. But it lacks prejudice in that if you tell yourself you're not good enough, your subconscious is like, okay, we're not good enough. It's not going to tell you, time out, Jeff. Time out, Red Rose. Time out, whoever you are in self-improvement. It's not going to stop you. It's going to believe everything you tell it. And then when you reinforce that by going out in your environment and you're like, yo, this shit sucks. It's whack. I don't want to be here. And you keep identifying all the things that don't work, your subconscious is just going to keep revealing to you all the things that don't work because it thinks that's what you want. And so in that way, try to focus. Try to focus. Try to be intentional as much as you can be intentional. One, watch how you find out you got to practice being intentional. And then two, realize it takes a lot of energy and effort and you can't reprogram yourself, which is why I think self-improvement is important. Part of the reflection, since we're reflecting today, I fast. I wake up at 3:30. I usually don't eat until 7:30. So I go through this workflow, prayer, meditation. Now I record, and I'm going to go out for a run in a minute. I might come back, and in between my run, I used to go for a stretch, and I would do a mantra meditation. I reference it, but I think mantra meditations are cool. Guided meditations are cool. I think sometimes hearing another voice guides you through. It adds a sense of I do this alone. It's not, I have my wife and my children, but I practice working on myself alone. I don't have a workout buddy. I don't have a prayer buddy except for God. And so in that way, it can get lonely. And you think you want to be lonely, and I like being lonely until sometimes you're lonely and you start feeling lonely. A guided meditation might help. I feel like I want to sneeze. But one of the things I've learned about as I've been reflecting and fasting, my body is starting to trigger me for hunger. And I'm telling it, like, no, we don't eat at this time. But it's also reminding me, like, yo, we haven't gotten used to exerting. This takes energy, right? So I'm exerting more energy. It's making me more tired. It also makes me a little more hungry. But I have to remind myself, we don't eat yet. I don't like to eat. I do it sometimes. I don't necessarily like to work out with my stomach full. It makes me feel a little uncomfortable. I definitely don't like to run with my stomach full. makes me feel uncomfortable. It goes back to me. I learned that. I tried it before. I didn't like it. Feel full. I feel like after I eat, I want to just crash out. Reflection is important. Getting ahead on Saturdays is important. Maximizing your time is important. Giving yourself time is important. Focusing on you is important. Nurturing yourself is important. Having priorities is important. Having a plan is important. Measuring is important. What we're doing together is important. Believing in yourself is important. Encouraging yourself is important. Affirming yourself is important. Visualization is important. Self improvement to me is really important, and why I encourage it outside of all the techniques and the tactics, because this strategy. You learn this too in business, right? New year, I already knew what my plans were. Like I went through budget season. Budgets happened for the year prior in my business. About September, October, we finalized plans for the new year. September, October, and I have in my business plan there's a 12-month plan, there's a 36-month plan, and there's a 60-month plan because you want to be able to project out, and you can't plan for today. Like there's some spontaneity, but you got to have a plan. You got to know you got to know, and if I'm nothing else, it's something to look forward to. And so in that way, self-improvement, there's some tactics. It's not all just like this lavish dream state. Oh, let's just dream about the abundance and the manifestation of all this greatness. Yeah, that's all well and good. And you should, because that's important. But what self-improvement comes down to is just that. You're improving. You are yourself. You have a self. The id, the ego, the super ego. We talked about the Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Conscious, subconscious, superconscious. It's labeled in a lot of ways. It's labeled in a lot of ways. What is somewhat referred to as the Holy Trinity. This idea that there's this spirituality. What self-improvement amounts to at the core, at its most simplistic of levels, because I like to break it down to make it super, super just obvious to me. What are the words, the vibrations, the frequency that we are using to describe what it is we're doing? Self-improve. It's already language. How you self-improve, up to you. What it means to you, up to you. But certainly, working on yourself is great. And I don't know that we emphasize enough the significance of being great within ourselves that doesn't align with a societal structure. So the revelation and the light bulb moment for me about self-improvement, outside of my direct message from God, which if you're curious, I was, you could say I was just shit-faced drunk. I was going upstairs. It was about 2:00 in the morning. I used to drink to all kinds of times at night, 2, 3 in the morning, whatever it was. And I was like fucking stumbling, and I got into the bed, and I heard God in my ear, and all he said was, spend more time with your children and with your wife. That's it. And it was just the fact that I felt like I just had a moment with Creator, that I heard God's voice, and he didn't tell me, or she, they, that the isness of God, because I don't believe God is a he, but I guess for ease of conversation, God gave me that very succinct message. He didn't give me instructions. He didn't shine a bright light and say, walk down this path and you will be successful. It's not how it went for me. Some people get different messages. Some people get the winning lottery numbers. This to me was my own winning lottery number, because when I started to focus on my children and my wife, I opened and broadened my perspective to legacy. I opened and broadened my perspective to meaningfulness, and the people who I'm experiencing this experience with most intimately. And it opened me up to the regret. My son asks some real poignant questions that hit me in the soul. And one of the things he asked me was like, yo, what's your biggest regret in life? And he'll say, be honest with me. And after giving it some thought, there are some things I talked about. I quit and I failed. some things that I knew if I didn't quit and failed, I could have been a very different person. And I shared that with him. But this was after my message from God, after my adjustment, and after I prioritized. Like, my prioritization is myself because my prioritization is God. And what did God give me? The power to create. What did I create? Marriage with children. That's my biggest creation. That's my legacy. So at this juncture, I'll speak of it in the present tense. I had this epiphany. It's going on 4 years now. My daughter and my son both have birthdays coming up, respectively. My daughter and my son, their birthdays are back to back. So one day it's my daughter, one day it's my son. They're 3 years apart. It's just about the day. My daughter's going to turn 15. My son's going to turn 12. I've been married for 25. I've been together with my wife for 25 years. I've been married for 17. If you subtract 4 years when I had this revelation, my daughter was 11, for lack of a better, simple math. 15 minus 4 is 11. My son, 12 minus 4 is 8. 25 years of marriage minus 4 is 20. 25 years of togetherness minus 4 is 21. 17 years of marriage minus 4 is 13. I wasted all those years. That's my biggest regret. I wasted all those years because I was protecting and providing in such a small, minuscule, minute way, and I was absent. And I was absent because I didn't understand the power of consciousness. And by not understanding the power of consciousness, and by not understanding the power of creation, and by not being totally in tune with God and my spirituality, I dismissed you because I missed many, 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 many moments that I know now I can't get back. So the biggest thing for me about self-improvement is I don't want to miss any more moments. It's why I have priorities. When I'm locked in, I'm locked in. I can't let this go. A lot of it around the cliche is I don't know how many more moments I got. And I don't want to lose any more moments of the moments I got with something that is not making me fulfilled. So I improved myself to seek fulfillment in life. I have this other story that I think I want to tell, and maybe I get into it. But you talk about a why. I don't want to waste no more time being a subpar, suboptimal, weak version of myself. That's whack. I don't want to spend no more time not loving and nurturing and feeling good about myself, which means that and it's not to say like, I think we get this a little bit twisted. And it's why I reference again, this is the third day in a row, I referenced the comment from my daughter. It's not to say that we're not going to have conflict and we're not going to have days where we're like, man, I wish I could get that day back. I wish I could get that moment back. But I'm so focused in on a moment that sometimes, like, yesterday with my wife, there was a part of me where I was like, yo, I'm doing something. And part of me wanted to spaz out and crash out a bit. And I catch myself, whoa, she just needs me to call the card too. I don't have to be strong with my response. It could be like, hold on, babe. I need a minute. I'm doing one priority right now. I'm gonna get to your other priorities. And I lashed out a little bit, but then I caught myself. 4 years ago, I'm like, yo, a lot of other things would have happened. And I would have took it a lot of different ways. But I've learned also in my journey that to understand how I work and all my intricacies and all my quirks and my misbehaviors, that person is also perfectly imperfect and imperfectly perfect. And that person is also going through massive multiple experiences. And the best thing I could do is figure out and listen and connect with my energy and say, where's that person? Where might that person be at? And how can I ease into this relationship in a way that helps them ease into the relationship with me? Right? Yes, you have gained insights of what really, really matters. You and your family are such a wonderful life. You have done the inner work. Yes. Thank you, Red Rose. Thank you. That feels good. And anybody who says they don't want to be validated in a way, in some way, yeah. Am I, whatever. I digress. It's good to see that what you might be doing, you're not going fully crazy, right? I told you I get in my head so much. I feel like I'm out of my mind, but I'd rather be out of my mind with what's in my mind than to be out of my mind with what somebody else put in my mind. We're all learning, growing, and changing. Absolutely. And there was a part of me for a time that wasn't growing, learning, and changing. I was just, you talk about reflection. I was probably the same, and in the same way, I'm the same person every day. I was the same person every day with no growth, right? Whereas now, because I'm focused on improving, I'm the same person every day that's constantly looking to grow. And that's, self-improvement. The biggest thing I learned from it is absolutely consciousness, how consciousness works, which ultimately leads to my thoughts. Thoughts are really, really, really important, and what you're thinking is really, really important for a multitude of reasons, which for me can just be fundamentally brought back to how you are going to experience your life. And how you're going to experience your life and how we're going to experience our lives, if we want to make it as pleasurable and be as optimistic and as rich as we can, like I always leave my screen with my stream, or I end a reel or a short with stay rich, right? You want to have richness in your life at all times. That's what self improvement means to me. The actualization of self, the realization of self, the understanding the sum of all, the sum of all parts, or you're just a part of the whole, that everything is grander than me, and I can leverage it for a multitude of ways, right? Like I could feel less insecure about who I am because there's a lot of other people doing a lot of other things, and it's not just about me. Don't be selfish. So I can use that to say, it's not about me. Nobody's really watching, although people watch because people will see and people will comment. But it's not about me, so be selfless. But it is about me, so somewhat you got to sometimes be selfish. Again, the paradox of life. But the idea of thoughts, and that thoughts create our worlds. Another book I read that changed my life was Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. I think it's something like that. Dr. Joe Dispenza, Think and Grow Rich, The Secret. You watch philosophy or philosophers and you get into these concepts and these thought processes, and it brings you back to the thought. And I started to play with the idea, can I really recreate my life with my thoughts? That's very appealing to me. That's very, very, very influential to me. Because why? You learn I have control over all my thoughts. And then you start to think, have I always been thinking? Yes. As Descartes says, I am nothing but a thinking thing. That is your power. I am nothing but a thinking thing. And because I'm a thinking thing, what it comes down to is I can think about whatever I want, however I want, and I can think of it in any way that I want to think of it. And now you get into the power of it's bigger than you, and spirituality and manifestation, all those things that come with it, the belief in the power of God. And you start to say, well, how do I attract a better life? However, the better life is, I got to think about a better life. And all of a sudden, you start to say these things like, well, when you think about a life, all of a sudden, you already are the better life because you're thinking about it. You're in that, you're walking that life. So the minute, if you want to use this, as a way to sort of use an example, I'm already an influencer. We're gonna define it in a way that says success comes with 1 million subscribers and 6-figure income per month. Yes, that's a residual. No, I may not get it. But yes, I am that already because I'm walking it today. So the minute you decide to change the thought about your life, your whole life changes. We can't be naive or ignorant to the fact that you got to let life catch up to you. Life has to catch up to you. Just because you change how you feel today, that's another thing. And I'm going to get into, I think, in a minute, what I wrote down. I had this epiphany in between a nap. I should say in between my sleep. If 4 years ago, I was 39, essentially, it was right before I turned 40 that I started this. You had this epiphany that you're going to walk this path and become this great person. And that as soon as you think it, you can become it. I got to use the bathroom. As soon as you think it, you can become it. I'm going to use the bathroom because I don't want to lose this thought. I'll be back in like 75 seconds. I'm going to sprint. Oh man. Yes, I'm doing it and living it. Oh, Red Rose does a Joe Dispenza meditation. He has some crazy meditations where he makes you like breathe, breathe. He puts you through some shit. I felt stressed when I did one of his meditations. Oh, thank you for allowing me that break. Man, if you haven't, I keep a blanket down here. I'll tell you how life works and how the mind works before I get back into my point. I just said to myself, I was running up the stairs. Thank you for that, Red Rose. In just a few days since she's been joining, knowledge and information has impacted her in a great way. Some of us want to be selfish. Like this leads into it. This leads into it. That's perfect. You know, some people might look and say, "Man, that's one person. That's enough for me, dog." And the one person that I said this the other day. The first person's life I changed was myself. When I changed my own life, I had a massive impact on my wife. I had a massive impact on my daughter. I had a massive impact on my son. You don't got to believe me. You don't got to care. It don't got to be a reason you like, subscribe, click or follow. But we live a good life in the cliche Jeff realm with our little circle and our little family. So what I was going to say along the lines of, and I asked myself, so ask yourself this: if you wanted to be an influencer, and God told you you're going to come on a live stream every day for an hour for the rest of your life, but only one person's going to join, only one person's going to watch. Only one life is going to be changed. Would you do it? Would you do it? That's how you know what you're about. That's how now I say yes. I say yes. But do this for like 10 years. And you do this for a month, man, 1,000 hours. This is what I'm talking about here about self-improvement. This is lifetime. I'm never going to stop improving on my life. Does it mean that one day I shut the camera and the mic off? It could. I don't foresee that though. I love it. I love it. And so if it's one person or if it's a million people, I believe with confidence that I'll be here. But how the mind works on you, right? As this little dust on my mic is annoying me. I'm gonna get back to my point about, you have this epiphany and etc. Would you do it with just one person, and how you get a little comfortable in your some of your success? I was a little mad. I had to run upstairs to go to the bathroom because I'm in my basement. When we built this house, it's now 7 years we've been in this house. One of the things I've said is we have a half-finished basement. I wanted to fully finish it and put another bathroom in here. I have 2.5 baths. I only say that in this way. I grew up in the projects where there was one little tiny a bathroom with 10 to 12, sometimes 15 people in the house, and good luck trying to use the bathroom or take a shower. And so not selfishly, you don't want to lose gratitude. I was mad because I had to run up the stairs. I was really mad because I had to leave the stream. And you talk about the thoughts. You might find yourself like, fuck, I don't have a bathroom in the basement. Chill. You have stairs to run up. Thank God. You can run up the stairs. Thank God. You can use the bathroom normally in a standard expected human body way. Thank God. You have water to drink. Thank God. Oh, you're tired today. Great. Thank God. One day you're going to wish to be tired like this. One day you might wish for one person to watch. One day you might wish for you to be there for yourself. That's self-improvement. But also, as I said yesterday with the shadow, it's all right that you think these things. And it's all right if you want to keep thinking these things. What I've learned with self-improvement is I check myself. Humble yourself, my G. Humble yourself. You have a bathroom to use. When you click the button to flush, it flushes. Thank God. I digress. All right. You make this flip. Change your thoughts. And now you're living this life. You're an influencer. You're cliche Jeff. Right away. You get into your fitness journey. Like if you went out for a run today, you're a runner. If you meditated today, you're a meditator. If you dance today, you're a dancer. Because we live in the present. And we, on the do you rules, there aren't many rules, but we speak in present terms. Because we don't speak in these finite closed ways. We are infinite. I believe we're infinite beings. Your essence and your soul, your consciousness, Your physical, corporeal form might go, but you will, this is my belief. Your light, your essence will go on forever. You don't believe me? Wait to the end and then tell me. You won't know, I won't know until we get there. I'd rather believe that way, right? So in that way, we speak as actualize, I am rich. I'm staying rich because I'm already rich. I'm an influencer. I'm not influencing. I haven't influenced. I'm an influencer, like Red Rose just said. I'm not dancing. I haven't danced. I'm a dancer, right? I'm your private dancer, dancer for money. Anyway, that's one of my wife. Anyway. I'm hyped. I'm hyped again. I'm hyped. So, yes, count our blessings one by one. Red Rose believes if you can have an impact on one person by spreading my love and my light, she's going to reflect on the things I've said. Good luck with that. I don't know if I want to reflect on what I've said. There's a lot of craziness, but I say that, humbly. I'm blessed by that. And Red Rose is believing a lot of what I'm saying. So, all right, cool. So we're present. We're in the present. We're always dominating. We're always actualizing and being. And we're becoming because we've already become, but we already are as is, right? There's still, it's not to say there isn't massive growth, but we're already in this form. We're self-improving. We chose a path. We're walking it. We're that person. Let me get back to my thoughts, self-improvement and some of what the friction might be. So I believe greatly. Change your mind, change your life. That's why I say that, right? Change your mind, change your life. I am who I say I am. I am who I say I am. Another big, change your mind, change your life. That's how it starts. I am who I say I am. If you've read the Bible or looked at any other influential and manifestation techniques, like when Moses was sent to free his people and he asked God, who should I say sent me? Tell him I am sent you. I am is what you are. I am what I am, right? That's why you got to be careful who you say you are. Your subconscious will believe you. Those are the two most powerful words in the world. I am an influencer. I am a poet. I am a dancer. I am what I am. Do you stay rich? You do all these things and you believe it happens right away and you're walking in this. The difficulty is if you started like me 4 years ago, yes, you are that person. But for 39 other years, you weren't that person. So I talked about letting the world catch up to you. Letting the world catch up to you. Just because you've changed your form, so to speak, you can't be selfish to think everything around you immediately changes. People, places, and things. How we identify with reality. How could it happen that way? This is and we live in this. I mean, they talk about instant gratification. This is also like not a movie, right? Like you're not gonna go from starting all the way from the bottom. You go on your journey, and an hour and a half later, you're the king of the world. It doesn't work like that. An hour and a half in real life could be 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. Everything that you see, that you're visualizing, may not come to you right away, and it's not going to come to you right away. And that is the big mind fuck of life. And you come into this self-realization and you start this self-movement and they'll tell you it's right away, but a lot of things aren't right away. It can't be right away. Also, if it was given to you right away, you wouldn't even enjoy it. The same way, I got to run upstairs for the bathroom. I got 2.5 baths. I have more than what I need. The audacity. The richness you think you want in material is not going to sustain you. It is the power within to continue to improve that's going to sustain you. That's one of the things. What I also believe and why I believe self-improvement is important. I've been going for a fucking hour and a half. Holy shit. It's 5:47 my time. I want to read this to myself before maybe I'll read it verbatim, but I also want to get into the energy I felt. What is self-improvement to me and why is it so important? I wrote down thoughts, mind, and consciousness. Very important. I'm going to go through, and then I wrote this down. So if you believe in the power of attracting and the power that what you see is what you're going to get, and you come to this realization, how I described it, what came to me the epiphany I had, the message that was sent to me that I got in my head, and maybe somebody has said this before, maybe not, but it's the first time I heard it in this way. You have to believe that when you make a request from God and universe, that essentially God is now in search of itself. The God in you, the image of creator, the power, and remember, I like to say, I believe I am God in the way that God gave me the same material God has to create. I'm a fraction. God is all. I could never, that's another thing. There's no way we could ever fathom with the finiteness of us and our being and in our physical reality, the infiniteness of God. However, and in that way, I am God because God saw it fit to create me with the power of his creation. And so God saw it fit to give me the power I have in me to go search for itself. So when you decide to put whatever it is you believe that God has given you in yourself as your priority, and we talk about attraction, now essentially God is in search for itself. So now you've activated the God in you, right? So all of a sudden it took you to you were 39. Maybe you found out when you were 9. Maybe you found out when you were 56, whatever. You had this epiphany. Boom. Oh shit, God is in me. I'm going to attract all these things in this great life. Now God goes in search of itself. And God goes to attract the world that you tell through your subconscious, go get this for me. You got to be patient. You got to give it time. But essentially, you're now, imagine if we're back in the forest. All right, we're back in the forest. You're in the center of the forest. You pick a path and you're like, I'm going to attract everything. So now you put out all this energy and now the universe is starting to bend to you and it's looking for you. The life you're looking for, you got to believe is also looking for you. The life you're looking for, I'm looking for the life, I'm looking for a certain life. That life is also looking for me. It wants me. That life wants me because that's God in search of itself. Once this is why I'm obsessed. I talk about being obsessed. I'm super obsessed. I just believe this. The life I see for myself is also looking for me. It's looking for me. And so I just got to keep going. And the more I keep going and looking for it, the more it'll come and look for me until we find each other. And then when I find it, I do what I do with it. But I'm still looking. So I'm pulling and it's pulling. I'm going to get into why that's important and put that into one of my I'm going to wrap it up. I'm hyped. I'm going to wrap it into context. I haven't been able to sleep lately in this way. I can't find, I've been sleeping with my hand on my face, yo. Thank you. Boom. She has chills. So I've been sleeping with my hand here. And because I realize I have a deeper connection between mind, body, and spirit. I feel extra heavy, the weight of my head on my hand. I feel the weight of my body on the bed, the position I'm in. And I kind of put this other hand on the side here. And it's like my body and my mind are speaking and my mind is just looking to sleep and my body's telling my mind, yo, this is uncomfortable for us, but I can't find a different way to sleep. So, and I think it's important because I feel heavy. I feel like I go to sleep and it's like I'm holding up. It's almost like my hand is here intentionally. I'm holding up all the craziness that's in my mind and in my thoughts and in my consciousness. And so in that way, I've been having, I don't want to say a traumatic sleeping experience, but I haven't been able to sleep. And one of the first books I bought that I haven't read was The Interpretation of Dreams, I think by Freud. I think a lot of people tell you dreams are important. That's your subconscious state. That's a lot of what's in there will be revealed to you. They tell you to write down your dreams. Writing down your dreams is important. I remember a lot of my dreams because I just think that's kind of the gift that God gave me. I think I'm also lazy to write down my dreams. I can admit that. But I think sometimes I'm scared to write down my dreams. But I've been drifting off. And it's like when I sleep, I'm so into the idea of consciousness that I almost feel like I can hear myself thinking while I sleep. Just bear with me. All right, bear with me. Maybe I'll go a little crazy, but like I said, I'd rather go crazy I'd rather be out of my mind with what's in my mind that I put there than be out of my mind with what's in my mind with somebody else put in there. So this is my life, my journey, my path. This is my God in search of itself. And so I've been a little bit frustrated and I've noticed that the dreams I've been having, I can't explicitly remember them, but they've been scary, for lack of a better term. They've been a little uneasy. They've been pressure filled. They've been Some of them have been, towards my worst visual fears. My worst visual fear, I'll share it. I'm gonna get chills and get scared thinking about it. Is having I guess you would say a demon spirit, is having a bad spirit take over me. That's my worst fear. I say it. I said it. I said it. I hate thinking about it. I hate thinking about that. And you want to call it the devil. I don't believe in the devil, but I hate the idea of maybe it's the idea that I'm going to revert back to who I used to be 4 years ago. Everything and there was nothing wrong with me per se, but I just know that I had that. There's a little too much evil in me as far as I wasn't God in search of himself. Let's just leave it at that. And so with that, it's been very frustrating. It's sort of impacted my mood. It's caused me to self-reflect. And I've been talking to myself through it. I've been talking to God through it. I've been patient because I know I don't believe that anything lasts forever. And I'm going to have the ups and the downs, and sometimes my dreams are going to hurt. But what occurred to me, I woke up out of my sleep, like boom. It was very abrupt, and that's been happening. I've been waking up more in the middle of the night than I have been. And it's not like to use the bathroom or anything, because that happened to me before, and I realized I got to stop drinking. I drink a lot of water. I got to cut off water at a certain time because I don't like my sleep to be disturbed. But my sleep has been disturbed because I've been having disturbing thoughts. And maybe it's from laying down this way. I don't know. I woke up, boom. And something happened to me that hadn't happened to me for years, man. Like what I'm about to describe happened to me regularly. Now, I think it's ironic that this happened to me after I wrote down, God is in search for himself. Have faith. You'll find what God, you'll attract each other. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. It may not be this year. It may not be next year. It may not be today. It may not be. It's coming though. It's coming. I got to have that faith and belief. I believe it. So what used to happen is I would have these flashes of light as my eyes. I know how this sounds. Bear with me. And maybe it's because I've been on the stream for, 97 minutes. And maybe because I've been on this journey for a little bit too long, I'm trying to go fucking crazy. Whatever. So I started to see these flashing lights, right? And what I would do is I would chase these lights, and I would really start to try to manipulate the lights because it feels so great to me. It's fun. Whenever it's happening, I feel this energy. So the lights are flashing off, and I'm like, oh shit. Immediately when it happened, I said to myself, this hasn't happened to me in a long time. A long, 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 long time. And so it was like these two circles of light that were broken here in the middle. And then it was almost like bowling pins that were forming in the middle of these half circle lights. And as they were occurring, I said, oh, I know what's going to happen. The lights are going to merge together. And I started to manipulate what I wanted the light to look like, how I wanted the light to spark in my mind and what was occurring. And then it dawned on me, what are you doing? Just let it happen. Don't try to manipulate it. Don't try to overthink it. Just let it all go. Just let it all go. Interestingly enough, what I thought was going to happen didn't happen. The light started to overlap. It became circular. It became that the light went from kind of bowling pins and hollow to that it all filled in. It all filled in, right? And it didn't merge so much that it overlapped and intertwined and started to play with each other. And I felt that this was powerful because God is in search for himself. And what I thought of when I opened my eyes is sort of like you take like a lasso, like a rope, right? And you take this rope and you, right? Ride him cowboy. You throw the lasso out, and it's almost like you wrap it around the earth. But for me, it's like you're wrapping it around the entirety of the universe. You're wrapping it around God and whatever God is for you. And this journey is once you feel that you've let it go and now this rope is onto something, you pull and you pull and you pull and you pull. And what I'm envisioning is God is in search of himself. So you're pulling the life that you see for yourself ever so slowly towards you. And sometimes you're like, oh, right? And you're pulling and you're pulling. And And you start to believe you have all this control because you have all this power and you're doing all this work because you got to pull this life to you. But the reality is this. What dawned on me, the epiphany sort of I had, what I believe was a spiritual moment for me, was I think I'm pulling, but all I'm really doing is holding on. And as I think I'm pulling, what's really happening is the life I see is pulling me. The life I see is pulling me, and we're pulling each other. It's this simultaneous give and take of no one's really pulling anything. I'm just going to wind up where I need to wind up. And how I need to wind up where I need to wind up is going to feel like it's being pulled, and I'm going to feel like it's pulling me, but you're just allowing it to happen. You're just allowing it to happen. You will pull through this time with your sleep. Yep. I believe in that. I'll get over it. But just imagine that the life you see for yourself is a constant. Your subconscious is working on your behalf. Light is working. God is working on your behalf. I think Red Rose summed it up in that way. Life is working for you. Life is working for you. And the light that you seek only comes from darkness, right? It only comes from darkness. And as I already said, all the true essence of everything, I could argue, is absent of light. And in the dark, there's always light in the way that dark creates shadows. You can't be afraid of it. It's all coming into action. I don't know what life has in store for you, but I believe sincerely that if you don't have a priority around your life, you'll miss out on your life. And having a priority on your life also assures you that you'll miss out on a lot of other things in life because you can only have one priority at a time. And you can only be that priority at that time. And if you shift and deviate, like the path in the forest, you might accrue some new knowledge and become a new priority and experience some different things. But have you completed what this priority is all the way, without a doubt, without any ambiguity, in a way that brings complete closure? And if you haven't, then I would argue there needs to at all times always just be one singular priority. And the priority starts with you and what you believe you are and the optimization, whether it's in an innovative or tactical, strategic, whatever that route and path is for you, and maybe it's a combination of all of it. It is unattainable, in my view, without you looking to improve constantly. And if for nothing else, right, you are a thinking thing, and you may not realize what you're thinking today, and that you have full control over what you can be thinking. And once you align with what you're thinking with what you want to think, then what you want to think will happen. As immediate as you start thinking it, and as arduous and as deep and distant as the infiniteness of a finite existence, and that what you see could be all that you become because that's the way you should see it. But it could also be that you're already seeing it, and you just got to put a lasso around it, pull on it when it needs to be pulled, let it pull you when you need to be pulled, and find yourself in the middle anyway, man. It's been a blessing. We're on day 11. We're reflecting. Tomorrow we come on, we start the week, we set our intentions. But what an amazing life. This one life. Change your mind, change your life. I am who I say I am. Do you and stay rich.